Please, I don't want to die. Please don't.
A woman doesn't become one of the most feared figures in Gilead overnight. She becomes that way in a single moment. One decision so irreversible that everything after it is just a consequence. And for Aunt Lydia, that moment wasn't when she gained power. It was when she proved she was willing to do anything to survive. Because long before she was enforcing rules, punishing disobedience, and shaping the lives of countless women, Lydia was just another prisoner sitting in front of a man who had already decided her fate. And what she did next didn't just save her life, it helped build the very system that would later define her. But here's the part most people miss. Lydia didn't survive by begging. She survived by understanding exactly how power works in Gilead, and then positioning herself as someone the system couldn't afford to lose. At the start of this moment, Lydia has nothing. No authority, no leverage, no protection. She's dragged into a room, stripped of dignity, and forced to sit across from Commander Judd, a man tasked with organizing what Gilead calls the women's sphere. That phrase alone tells you everything about the world they're building. Women are no longer individuals. They're roles to be assigned, controlled, and categorized. Judd isn't there to understand Lydia. He's there to evaluate her usefulness. And the first thing he does is open her file. What he finds is enough to condemn her instantly. Lydia has never been married, and worse, she's had an abortion. In Gilead's ideology, those aren't just personal choices, they're unforgivable sins. Lydia tries to explain. She says she was young. She insists her decision had nothing to do with rejecting children. She even leans into her identity as a teacher, emphasizing how much she enjoys being around kids. But here's the brutal truth. None of that matters. Because in a system like Gilead, facts don't determine your fate, utility does. And Lydia realizes that faster than most people would. This is where her transformation begins, not with violence, but with awareness. She understands that defending her past is pointless, so instead of trying to prove she's innocent, she shifts strategy entirely. She starts aligning herself with the values of the system that's judging her. She compliments Judd's dedication to Christian principles. On the surface, it sounds like desperation. But it's not. It's calculation. Lydia is testing what works, reading his reactions, adjusting in real time. She's not speaking emotionally, she's speaking strategically. But Judd isn't impressed, because praise is cheap. What he needs is a solution. And this is where Lydia does something that completely changes her fate. Instead of continuing to defend herself, she offers him an idea, one that not only solves his problem, but strengthens the very structure of Gilead. She suggests that men shouldn't be directly responsible for controlling women. Instead, that responsibility should be given to women themselves. It's a chilling concept, and Lydia presents it with precision. She argues that capable, disciplined women, especially those with backgrounds in education, would be far more effective at shaping behavior, enforcing rules, and guiding younger girls into becoming pious and obedient. But what makes this moment powerful isn't just the idea itself, it's how she frames it. She appeals to Judd's ego. She tells him that men of his status shouldn't have to deal with the petty details of managing women. She positions delegation not as a convenience, but as a reflection of authority. And then she seals it with religious language, reminding him that delegation is one of God's virtues. That line is not accidental. Lydia understands exactly what kind of world she's in. She knows that logic alone isn't enough. It has to sound righteous. And just like that, everything shifts. Because Lydia is no longer just a woman defending herself. She's a woman offering value. And in Gilead, that's the only thing that keeps you alive. But here's where it gets darker. Judd is intrigued, but he's not convinced, because ideas mean nothing without proof. In this world, loyalty isn't measured by words, it's measured by actions. So he decides to test her. And not just any test, a test designed to break whatever humanity she has left. He hands Lydia a gun, and then he gives her an order. Execute the sinners. But this isn't random. This is calculated psychological pressure. Judd makes sure that Lydia is placed face to face with someone she knows, Vivian, someone she has a connection with, someone whose life now depends entirely on Lydia's next move. This is no longer about survival in theory. This is survival at a cost. For a moment, Lydia hesitates. And that hesitation matters because it shows that she hasn't fully crossed the line yet. She's afraid. She's conflicted. There's still a part of her that understands exactly what she's being asked to do and recoils from it. But then, reality hits her. In that room, there are no second chances, no moral victories, no middle ground. If she refuses, she dies. If she hesitates too long, she dies. If she shows weakness, she dies. And in that moment, Lydia understands something that defines everything she becomes after this. Her beliefs don't matter anymore. Her past doesn't matter. Her feelings don't matter. Only survival matters. And survival in Gilead demands obedience. So she makes her choice. Not because she wants to, not because she believes it's right, but because she knows it's necessary. She pulls the trigger. And in that instant, Lydia doesn't just save her life, she destroys the person she used to be. Because that single act changes everything. It proves to Judd that Lydia is exactly what Gilead needs. Someone who can override emotion, suppress empathy, and carry out orders without hesitation when it counts. And more importantly, it proves that she can enforce the system, even against people she cares about. That's what makes her valuable. That's what makes her dangerous. From that moment on, Lydia is no longer just surviving Gilead. She becomes part of its foundation, one of the very people responsible for shaping how it controls women. And here's where the story becomes even more unsettling, because Lydia doesn't just accept her new role. She adapts to it, thrives in it, justifies it. To live with what she's done, Lydia has to rewrite the narrative in her own mind. She can't see herself as a victim who made a terrible choice. That would destroy her. Instead, she begins to see herself as necessary, as someone who is helping maintain order, guiding women, and preserving what Gilead claims to value. This is how cognitive dissonance works. The more she participates in the system, the more she has to believe in it. And over time, that belief becomes real. She starts to see discipline as care, punishment as correction, control as protection. And that's what makes her one of the most effective enforcers in Gilead. Because she doesn't think she's the villain. He thinks she's doing the right thing. But if you trace it all back, every decision, every punishment, every moment of authority, it all leads to that one scene, that one choice, that one pull of the trigger. Because that's the moment Lydia stopped being just a woman trying to survive and became someone capable of enforcing a system that destroys others. And this is why her story is so powerful, because it forces you to confront something uncomfortable. Lydia isn't a monster from the beginning, she becomes one through a series of choices that, in her situation, make perfect sense. That's what makes it terrifying, because it suggests that under the right conditions, under enough pressure, fear, and desperation, people don't just endure oppressive systems, they adapt to them, they enforce them, they become them. And that's the real tragedy of Aunt Lydia. Not that she was powerless, but that when she finally gained power, it came at the cost of everything that once made her human.
Get down! Just get down! Get down!